And that's exciting, but maybe you feel the opposite of excited. Maybe you feel actually a little bit anxious about it. Yes, restrictions have lifted. Yes, this is the big weekend where nightclubs can open with caution, but maybe you're not ready for it. Maybe you're nervous going to the supermarket and wary that social distancing might not be happening as much as before, or people won't be wearing a mask. I certainly felt like this when I went to the supermarket, and I don't know, I wasn't quite sure how to tell the person behind me at the till, could you sort of step back a little bit? I think it's completely normal to be feeling a little bit of anxiety as lockdown lifts. Dr. Julie Bradshaw MBE is a psychotherapist and a life coach. Julie, good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, Summaya.
So what do you reckon then, in terms of feeling anxious, what would you advise in terms of managing those feelings as we do ease out of lockdown?
Yes, like you say, I think all of us, given that we've had the new norm and things have changed a lot over the year, and it's something about getting back into finding a routine within the new norm. And yes, it's going to be perfectly normal for a lot of people to go back, going down a supermarket, shops, and to being a little bit anxious about what's going on. And it's about taking it gradually. I always say to people about taking it gradually because, as I say, things have changed. And to go at your own pace. So, for example, if somebody's not wanting to go in, let's take shops, for example. If you've got somebody who doesn't want to go down a supermarket, you could just go to a smaller shop where there's obviously going to be less people in, just to build up that confidence about going out. If it is a supermarket that you like to go to, there's always the click and collect where you can actually go in your car, one person comes out and puts it in your car. So it's all about building confidence and going at your own pace. I think the most important thing is not to avoid, but to do, because it's about having those manageable targets. So in avoiding things, it actually, whilst the anxiety goes away by not going and doing something, it actually increases it for next time. So it's a case of, go for it, chipping away, going gradually.
Do you think that there's going to be an increase in agoraphobia, people being scared of going out, Julie?
I think there has been. The clients I've seen are obviously all feeling anxious. I've got varying clients, but as I always say to them, it's about taking it gradually, building up that confidence. And, extreme cases with those unhelpful thought patterns, it's about, I work with people to challenge those thoughts. For example, somebody who doesn't particularly want to go out now because of lockdown restrictions being lifted, think back to how they were beforehand and take them back to that time, and it's a strategy and unhelpful thought pattern that people have developed. So it's a case of, challenging those. Even things like, keeping diaries. I'd always recommend people keeping thought diaries, feelings diaries, so they can actually monitor it's a useful way really to track your mood over time, and what it does is it helps increase your confidence.
Julie, I suppose the other thing is sometimes you can feel isolated because it feels like the whole world is going out and having a great time and seeing their friends and seeing their family, and maybe you're not ready for that, or maybe you feel like, oh God, that's what I should be doing, but actually that isn't my life right now. I don't think social media helps, right, where it looks like everybody's going to the pub and everybody's having a great time. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you mentioned about family, and I think one of the most important things is to speak with your family and friends and to talk to them about how you're feeling. And if they're aware of it, they can actually support you to going out. It's some kind of strategy. They know your thoughts, they know your feelings, and how you're feeling in terms of going out. So speak with them. Let them know, obviously, how anxious you're feeling. Open up to them. And in terms of getting out, taking somebody with you. Even if it's just going, getting in the car, depends where your local shops are, just going down the road, even if you don't get there at the first instance, just increasing that distance, but having that support of your family and friends to know how you're feeling.
How normal is it to feel anxious at the moment?
I would say it's very normal. Like you said yourself, I'm of the same mindset that, I went down the supermarket, and even, to be honest, even before the lockdown restrictions, there were people without masks. It's about, I still wear my mask, I still keep safe, I still sanitise, and I'd always say to people, to wear that mask, and when you go down, wherever you go, to keep that social distance. And if people aren't, it's just to ask them to be a little bit respectful, say it in a nice way, and I found that most people, are fine about it, move aside and give you that distance.
If you do think you need some support, Julie, what would be the best way? What would you advise?
Again, speak to your friends, speak to your family, and then if you really, is to speak to, obviously, a professional like myself, and we can go through some sort of techniques, some mindfulness. Apps are another good way of some mindfulness apps, because it's important that when you've been there, you've been out, that you actually find some time to relax, to get away from it all, to bring that elevated levels of anxiety down. So finding some time to relax as well.
What helps you, Julie?
Well, I like to go out into nature, to be honest with you, to listen to nature and be away from people, and also to swim as well, which is, you get in the water, even if it's just floating. I mean, I've been just recently wearing my snorkel and just floating in the water, letting the world all the worries float away, and just listening to myself, concentrating on my breathing, and just feeling relaxed, so that the next time I go out, I'm all charged up.
Bro, Julie, you've been really helpful. Thank you so much. I think it's probably just good to hear that it's normal and completely understandable that you might be feeling this way, because when you've got a lot of excitement surrounding all the restrictions are lifting and stuff, which is great for businesses that have really struggled, and it's not to take away from that at all, but it can feel like maybe you're the only one that doesn't feel, excited, but instead you feel the opposite. You feel a bit nervous, you feel a bit anxious, and I think the important thing is probably what I hear from you is that it's normal and you're not the only person that feels that way.
That's right, it is, and it's about, we just have to adjust, go out, and just take things gradually. I went out last week, actually, the first time in a while, for some lunch with a friend, but beforehand I actually phoned up and I made sure that there were how many people were going, and people can do that as well. You can phone up if you've got an event or some course you're going to, is to call up, find out where it is, find out how many there are going to be attending, and I find that all that helps as well, because you can plan ahead.
Julie, thank you so much for your time. Dr Julie Bradshaw MBE there, psychotherapist and a life coach, with a few tips if you are feeling anxious ahead of the big weekend, as they call it. A gorgeous acoustic of Wake Me Up Now. This is Aloe Black.